I can just remember that I was very proud. As soon as England declared war on Germany and my father joined the army to help fight Hitler. Soon after that, Nanny got married and went off to her own house with her husband. Then Mom Judy and I went to live with my other grandmother Danny in the Bridges. The Bridges is a lovely red brick house with a big garden that you would call a backyard, surrounded by the tall hedge that shoots out the world. It is Bernie, in Mouth on the southern coast of England. Just a few minutes walk from the sea of the English Channel. That is where I spent the rest of my childhood and my adolescence. We shared the bridges with my mother's two sisters, Owen, Owen, known as Ollie and Audrey. My uncle, a senior consultant surgeon in a huge London hospital, came home most weekends. During the war, all families with private houses that could were asked to take in people who temporarily temporarily found themselves without homes, and so we took in two single women for a while. When America joined England in the fight against Hitler and the Nazis, many Yankee soldiers, as we called them, came over to England on their way to the fighting front of in France, Holland, and Belgium. Belgium. Some of them were stationed near us. Many of their tanks and trucks were parked along our quiet little road. The soldiers used to give us candy and other treats. We, we ourselves had very little food in England. Everything was rationed. We were allowed one egg, a piece, and 2 ounces of candy, and very little milk. The grown-ups usually gave us children most of their rations of candy, milk, and eggs. We needed coupons for everything, but not just food. There were clothing coupons, gasoline coupons, and liquor coupons, and often, even if you had coupons, you couldn't get the things because they weren't available. Everything went to the soldiers, pilots, and sailors who were defending our island. Some bombs fell on Brownymouth, through not many. We had an air raid shelter installed in our house. It was a low, steel-roofed cage where the whole family would creep and wait, huddled together from the time when we heard the air raid warning until the welcome sound of the all clear. The all clear. However, for the most part, we children were not much affected by the war. At the beginning, we were too young to understand what was going on. By the end, we had become used to news of battles, defeats, and victories. During those war years, I went to three different schools, a kindergarten, and the equivalents of your junior and senior high school. I never really liked any of them. I didn't mind the work. Some of it I liked very much. But I hated having to leave home every morning, and I hated having to spend time indoors. When I wanted to be outside alone, I longed for each day to end so that I could go home to my family. I lodged on for the weekends when I could go horseback riding. Most of all, I lodged for the holidays. Then for days on end, I was free from school bells and school regimentation. On school days, I hated to get up. Often mom had to call me several times on weekends and holidays. It wasn't different. Then I was always up early, at least when the weather was good. I would go out onto the cliffs with their pine trees and gorse bushes, or down to the beach. I spent a lot of time in the garden. I was big and rather wild. There was a one beech tree I loved so much that Danny gave it to me for my 10th birthday. My very own tree. I could climb high in its branches when I was happy. I'd sit and watch the birds and listen to their songs. Sometimes I took my homework up there and climbed it when I was sad and read a book. Mom taught me to do that. She said it would help me to forget my troubles at least for a while, and afterward they might not seem so bad. I still do that today. In a way, winter I loved to curl up in front of the fire and read. Our house was always filled with books, many of them from my mother's childhood. We couldn't afford many new books, but we belonged to the local library one day for my weekend library book. Mom brought me the story of Dr. Doodle by Hung Lofting. I read it all the way through, then I read it through again. I had never before loved a book so much. I read it a third time before it had to go back. I finished it under the bedclothes with a flashlight after Mom had turned off the light. That was in November, and I shall never forget that Danny gave me the book for my very own. That Christmas I was 7 years old. I think that was when I first decided I must go to America someday. I'll read as many books go to Africa someday. I read as many books as I could, find out all sorts of animals, not only about those in Africa. Africa. I also loved stories of wolves, bears, and wolverines in North America and Canada, jaguars, anacondas, and sloths in South America, orang orangutans, Indian elephants, and ta- tapirs in Asia, and so on. I loved The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling with its tales of Mowgli, and especially loved the books about Tarzan by Edgar Rice Burroughs.